If you want to watch most of the Rugby World Cup next year, you'll need around $100 and a decent internet connection. Now, Spark and TVNZ have secured the rights to broadcast the championship, which is being held in Japan, of course. But they say only 7 of the 40 matches will be on free-to-air TV. The other games will be streamed online for a fee, with rural communities still on ageing internet infrastructure, worried they'll miss out. Katie Scotcher reports.
Rugby has been described as the national religion, and the Rugby World Cup is the pinnacle of that obsession. But there are no guarantees all the All Blacks matches will be aired on TV. 33 games will be streamed online, and some people living in rural areas are worried their slow internet connections will stop them from cheering the team on. The president of Otautau Rugby Club in a remote part of Southland, Graham Caron, is gutted.
We've just won the last World Cup and we're going in there as probably one of the favourites, and if the people of New Zealand can't see it, and what they're trying to do, like the rugby unions of New Zealand are trying to get the grassroots rugby up and going and keeping it going, and if we don't get to see the big guys play, then, you know, what are we going to watch and how are we going to inspire our children, sort of thing.
Federated Farmers National Vice President Andrew Hoggard says the internet isn't good enough for day-to-day errands, let alone streaming videos online.
Really, rural areas need that broadband for just doing business. We're where a lot of the productivity of the country comes from, and yet for a number of farmers, simple things like internet banking, cloud accounting, there's all these programs we use now to run our farms, and they all rely on good internet connectivity.
Spark's General Manager of Corporate Relations, Andrew Perry, says they're aware there are people in rural communities whose current internet connection is not fast enough to stream the games. But he says they'll be doing all they can to ensure all rugby fans can be part of the action next year.
There's programs underway already, which will mean that there's a lot of customers in rural parts of New Zealand who will have much better broadband by the time the World Cup comes around in late 2019 than they have today. So those programs will be underway. So a lot of people will be getting better broadband on the way already.
Mr Perry says they're looking into other backup options for remote areas, like streaming the games at local rugby clubs. Being able to watch the games in remote parts of the country isn't the only thing rugby fans are worried about. Sky Sport costs people around $80 per month for a full subscription, while Spark says it will charge around $100 for the Rugby World Cup. People on the streets of Wellington weren't sold.
I would not pay $100. That is a waste of money. That is ridiculous. There's so much money. $100. I would not pay $100.
Well, it's a positive step, but I think it should be free for everyone. But let's start, yeah.
It will be quite expensive, and some people are on a limited budget. But for Rugby Crazy Nation, I think it should all be for free, I guess. I would be paying for it.
For the World Cup, yeah, most definitely would pay to watch. If the streaming services weren't that good, then yeah, most probably be disappointing.
Spark says people will be given the option to pay per game, which would be cheaper. Broadcast commentator Keith Quinn says paying to watch the games is nothing new. He says as long as people can watch the games, they'll be happy.
It's almost like there's a right that New Zealanders have to see the All Blacks at least play, and in the World Cup to see what their opponents are like. So I hope that the systems can be put in place so that everybody can see the significant games of the Rugby World Cup, because it is very important to New Zealand.
The New Zealand Rugby Union aren't too worried about the new arrangements, with the union's chief executive Steve Chew saying times are changing and online streaming should suit the vast majority of fans. The Spark TVNZ deal also includes broadcasts of the Rugby Sevens, Under-20 Championships and the Women's Rugby World Cup. In Wellington for Checkpoint, call Katie Scotcher, 10A.